Hey y'all, this is Marla K. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope y'all can hear me. I can't get my other mic to work well this morning, so bear with me. I want y'all to listen to this short because it's something that I have been warning y'all about that is coming as they gradually take control of states and the federal government. Y'all know who they is, this administration. But it began with the Biden administration. So I just kind of want to show you where the foundation, they've been gradually adding these executive orders and strengthening different acts and giving the powers to the president so that whenever they get ready to declare whatever they get ready to declare, they're going to start rounding people up. And we already know, I've told y'all about Rex 84. If you don't know what it is, you need to go to my Rumble channel. And I've done a video about how they're going to collect certain groups of people. But they have a specific act for us in the event that they declare martial law. They're talking about protecting citizens. And y'all know, originally, we were not citizens. And you see how this administration has been laying the groundwork by picking up people, detaining them, sending them out of the country, not giving them due process. So they're trying to say we're already in a war when we're not in a war with anyone here. So the courts are having to, the innocent are having to wait until the courts make a decision, which means you will be in great peril if you are not prepared. So all those people going to El Salvador, we don't know whether they're legal or illegal, what are the situations, because they haven't had due process. No proof has been gathered. This federal law enforcement is just scooping people up and putting them on planes and sending them places. Well, this can happen to anybody that is not white. Even black people, African Americans, Africans, Haitians, whatever, Afro-Latinos, whatever, biracial people, it can happen to you too. If you do not have the right paperwork on you and you don't have good law enforcement officers who are like, okay, this is good enough, I'm gonna let you go. It can happen to anybody. And we have to worry now about local law enforcement. And it's funny that this short came up because yesterday I was at the store and me and my friend were pulling up in the parking lot of the gas station. Went in the store and I was behind this very, very young looking police officer in our little rural town. And that's pretty much all we got now, young police officers. They look like they're anywhere between, 21, 22 and, 35. I'm going to just go ahead and say what they look like. They look like race soldiers. And I say race soldiers because if you knew the history of the town that I lived in and you saw how militarized the police officer was when he got out of the car for a town that nothing happens in. Like the biggest thing that will happen in this town is somebody might get sick or just die. And when the people pass away, everybody talks about it. Ain't no fighting. Ain't no shooting. You may have folks steal. Poor people perp on poor people. And family members perp on family members. People prey on who's closest to them or who's the easiest victim. And most times in these places, it's people who are close to you. And everybody, this is a very close-knit family. But if you saw how the police officer's posture was, all the stuff he had on, the camouflage uniform, the camouflage safety vest with all the stuff on it, I was like, they look like IDF soldiers. Number one, it's that type of costume. And I'm gonna call it costume, but it's just the presence. I'm acutely aware of the times that we're living in and the people that oversee us. And so I'm just paying attention, and I'm like, they got these little young boys that's gonna be out here messing with people. They got these young guys who out here, because ain't nobody with good sense going out to risk their life for no little bit of power these days. Because these old heads, even these old racist old heads, they know they want to be at their house hunkering down. They ain't trying to be out saving nobody and doing stuff for this government. They're not gonna do it. So I'm looking and I'm like, wow, they got these young guys. They got them all outfitted up with all this stuff. And they're going to be out here terrorizing people when they get the permission to do so. And it's going to be very interesting to see how people behave. It's going to be interesting to see how these people in authority, especially these white men, young and old, how they turn on their people for a dollar, for some power. And not just black people. White people got to worry too, but I'm talking about our people, because we are the people who, no matter what we do, no matter how we speak, we don't have any protections in this society. And they will slay us in the streets and watch and film our bodies on TV, and film our bodies laying in the street and put it on television. They will put you in detention centers and sentence you so that you never see the light of day again. They will lie on you and say you did XYZ and put you in detention and never let you go. They will physically, sexually, emotionally, mentally abuse you in their institutions, and you have no recourse. They will put other prisoners on you to rape you and do all sorts of things to you, allow you to be preyed upon by prison and jail staff. Like, there are so many different scenarios, and what we're watching now is how white people turn on white people, because what they're getting ready to do to us, they've already done all over the world. They've done it in Africa, on the continent of Africa. They've done it in South America. The only places they haven't, and they've actually done it in Europe too. But now they are civilized. They do it to other people. They were doing it to other people, but now we're getting ready to see them do it to themselves, and we're still in the belly of the beast. So we need to know what's going on. And there was a reason Trump let those January 6th insurrectionists off the hook, gave them all pardons. And there's a reason why we keep being provoked. And we're not taking the bait. Just so the Most High is like waking everybody up on that page to not be out in the streets, to not be doing stuff. I don't know if they're going to have enough of these race soldiers to come around and scoop up people. But things are getting ready to happen really fast. And I want to play this video so that I can show you why you need to be very aware of your local law enforcement, who they are, understand they're working in these multi-jurisdictional relationships or partnerships. And I did a video on that. So if you type in police or other keywords about multi-jurisdictional interoperability, that type of thing, you should see those videos. But I talked about this and how this was coming. It probably was a year or two ago, but I could see the writing on the wall with the Biden administration, how they were sticking stuff in different bills and giving money to law enforcement, sticking stuff in bills, giving money to law enforcement. giving them extra money to work together. Counties working together now. You know, the city and the county law enforcement work together now. There basically are no lines. There, you have a huge area. Instead of a county, you might have a regional law enforcement. That's what you're going to see. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like in South Carolina or in the South, and I don't know what it's going to look like in my particular area or your particular area. But if you live in the rural South, if you live in certain places that have a history of rebellion, they may buck it. I don't know. But I just don't know. You don't know. I know we have a bunch of ignorant people who are unaware of history and who do not understand the times that we're living in. They're not paying attention to what we see today. And it's getting ready to get tricky. They have done 84 wrecks, switching around. Got talking code. And they've done it backwards, though. So originally, it was meant for us, to collect us when they declared martial law. And then they added Hispanics to it. But now what they've done is they started executing the plan early, but backwards. So they're trying to get rid of all the Hispanics, collect them, get them scattered, hidden, running early. So they only have to worry about the ignorant, sleeping Negro. Because it's going to be easy to collect us. First of all, we ain't going to be prepared for nothing. Number two, our people are asleep. They don't know what's going on around the world. They don't know nothing about the coups. They don't know anything about the stock market. They don't know nothing about the shelves going empty. Nothing. They ain't hearing nothing. They haven't been paying attention to the warnings that China and Europe gave to their people a year, 2 years ago about war. And I can recall Europe giving their people warnings before Ukraine was invaded. So for the last couple of years, other nations have had an opportunity to give their people warning. We haven't been receiving any warning. And all of a sudden now America is isolated. Not only are we isolated intentionally, everything that I say henceforth is intentional. We are having supply chain shortages because of tariffs. We have food shortages because our leadership has allowed stuff to be destroyed for alleged pestilences. The price of everything has gone up. Rent, food, utilities, interest rates. The housing market is crashing. It's getting ready to correct itself. And the real value of property is getting ready to be restored. People are getting ready to lose their properties because we're getting ready to have layoffs. And our people are none the wiser. All this stuff is intentional. All of it has been happening since 2020, 2021, COVID. And, nothing has happened. People have made more money staying at home than they did going to work because of stimulus. And rich people have been getting tax cuts. And we don't have anything. So I am of the mindset that we cannot be foolish in this hour and think that nothing is getting ready to happen. A lot of things are already in place. A lot of spiritual stuff happening. People perishing. People being exposed. People stepping down. People getting sued. Black people being broken. All the tools being broken. And it's going to continue. But for us little people, we need to be aware of our local law enforcement, these multi-jurisdictional task forces that will help with martial law when it's declared. So I want y'all to get prepared because we're getting ready to go into this next quarter from May to June. It's going to be huge in my opinion. I'm not putting any time, I'm not calling anything, but y'all been watching how fast everything has been accelerating. The demolition is almost complete. Europe is starting to have rolling blackouts. I would not be surprised if we start having them. People have been asleep for a long time, but they're getting ready to be awakened, and we're all ready to experience some pain. So listen to this video for me.
To an executive order that would be the precursor to him invoking the Insurrection Act and martial law. Some people think so, yes. So let's go through it together calmly. The executive order is called Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. And in Section 4, it calls for using national security assets for law and order. Quote, within 90 days of the date of this...
So y'all know law and order really was made for us. The policing, period, is made for Negroes. It's not made for white people. Now, I don't know whether white people going to get some this go around. I don't know. But what I do know is policing, originally slave patrols, were made for us. So when they talk about all this stuff, y'all need to be acutely aware they're talking about us. I told y'all about code words and buzzwords. No matter what they say, at the end of the day, everything goes back to the Negro. Everything goes back to the African American. Everything goes back to Yasharel, because they know who we are, and we're waking up. The world is waking up. The world is understanding the lies that have been told. The AI telling stuff that they wasn't supposed to tell. Negroes are asking it stuff that they supernaturally know, because there's no way we would know some of the things that that people are asking AI about. And people are starting to think for themselves. So the weaponization of information is gradually loosening its grip on a lot of the people. And as we wake up and people start watching us, the rest of the world is going to be like, wait a minute, black people ain't doing it. Black people quiet. Black people doing this. Black people. And other groups are now apologizing. I've seen Hispanics apologizing. I saw a video with Asians apologizing to black people for mistreatment. So you have to know something is coming. And I want y'all to understand it's going to first begin with your local law enforcement.
This order, the Attorney General and Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security and the heads of agencies as appropriate, shall increase the provision of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to assist state and local law enforcement. Within 90 days of this order, the Secretary of Defense, in coordination with the Attorney General, shall determine how military and national security assets, training, non-lethal capabilities, and personnel can be most effectively utilized to prevent crime.
So they say crime, but during martial law, whatever laws are on the books don't apply. And, they say non-lethal now, but of course, when there's no law, who's going to be sitting around saying, halt, who goes there? Stop you. When they could use non-lethal force now, most times they don't, even if the lethal is their hands, even if the lethal is other parts of their body that they use as weapons. So don't get it twisted because they say non-lethal. Non-lethal just means they ain't using no gun or taser. Let's say gun, something that can kill you. But they could use tasers. They could use whips. They could use chains. They could use handcuffs. They could kick you. They could box you around if they, put you in handcuffs and you can't defend yourself. Don't get it twisted. Y'all really need to be thinking outside of the box. You see these words, but understand the reality that we have been living in, and the reputation that precedes these folks who are in these positions. And black folks working in these positions are going to get run off. You watch.
This directly calls for the Secretary of Defense and military assets to be incorporated in the daily activities of local and state police departments.
So law enforcement getting ready to be embedded with, military getting ready to be embedded with law enforcement in your local jurisdictions. So I'm just letting you know, they scouting out things and they're taking inventory of the temperature of the people so that they can report back. So everybody got a job to do in this capturing of the Negroes and keeping these white folks in control.
So I talked to a lawyer friend of mine who said, number one, the federal courts are going to challenge this right away. Okay, that's why it says in 90 days, because for the next 90 days, there's going to be people fighting this. The military turning on civilians is in the Constitution as a no-no. The next thing my lawyer friend said is that for folks in red states, it is likely going to get a little bit worse a little bit more quickly because those states are much more willing to take military assistance. But for folks in blue states,
no, that's wrong. The people in the red states are more than likely going to fight because they understand what it's like for the federal government to demand something that they don't want to do. Hint, hint, the Civil War. And the state that I live in was the first to secede because they didn't want to give up their slaves. They don't want the federal. They want the federal government's help until they don't want it, and that's what you're gonna see.
we are not out of the woods. The federal government will hold state and local jurisdictions whose officials willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including by directly and unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties necessary for public safety and law enforcement, or unlawfully engage in discrimination or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that restrict law enforcement activity or endanger citizens. Basically mumbo jumbo saying that if state or local jurisdictions don't do what the federal government wants them to in the way they want them to, they will prosecute them. Section 2 gives great.
So this means your little scary ass local politicians ain't gonna do nothing. They're either going to resign, which is gonna leave your local governments not functional and allows them to be taken over by state and federal governments because money funnels from the top to these states, to these local jurisdictions, including law enforcement, especially the ones that got all this equipment and money for new cars. Notice all the new cars got this blue and white United Nations color scheme. You can't tell, the police cars from the old logos that they used to have, especially, here where I live. And I've just been paying attention. Even the ambulances look like United Nations ambulances. They have that blue and white color, and that wasn't the colors before. So
Greater indemnification to law enforcement officers and
so they're gonna have law enforcement officers gonna have more insurance to do what? Kick your ass, kill you, bust up in your house and destroy your stuff. Nothing gonna happen. That's where we're going back to, folks. Jim Crow 2.0. The end of the Reconstruction era is here. And this is what's going to let you know it's here. When they get to coming in your house, when they get to kicking your butt in the street, when they get to taking your stuff and accusing you of things and detaining you and shipping you off someplace, folks going to come up missing, menfolk, and you're going to be found hung from trees, laying in fields. Nobody going to know where you are. You're going to be in the street walking around like it's a good day, and you're going to be disappeared. Mark my words. Remember your history because it is getting ready to replay itself.
commits federal resources to defending law enforcement officers if they, quote, unjustly incur expenses or liabilities for action taken during the performance of their official duties.
So we can't get paid, but the police going to get paid for doing stuff while they're on duty to people. And if, somebody, they happen to sue or they have to go through the legal system, the federal government is going to allocate resources for them. If anybody believes that, they're stupid. If you are working for the government and you see how they're doing just everyday people, you think because you're police that they're going to pay for you, they're going to pay your money and pay your bills But they won't even pay people who worked for the government, holding their money for months. They're laying off people and firing people left and right, leaving people without any recourse, no money, no nothing. And you think because you're law enforcement that they're going to just take care of you and do something for you? You're an idiot, idiot.
So people are going to freak out about this one for very obvious reasons. It will go through the federal courts where it will likely be thrown out if the Constitution still means anything. This is a bullying tactic. What the president is trying to do here is usurp the power of state and local governments and create a true federal, top down, military enforced autocracy. He's already arrested a federal judge. I have no disillusions that he won't arrest a governor if he thinks they're standing in his way. But right.
Well, I want to speak to the federal judge piece because if you are a federal judge, you adhere to the law. You're not supposed to be harboring illegal entrants. Like, that's a conflict of interest. That's like a police officer selling drugs. So, in this regard, I don't understand people how they try to justify. It's like, well, judge already been arrested. Yeah, the judge was arrested because they were harboring illegal entrants. Why would a judge do that? That's just like a judge driving DUI gets busted. They got to pay a price for that. They broke a law. It's a law in the books for, aiding and abetting illegal entrants when they have declared a national emergency. So those people could be considered enemy combatants that they are harboring. So, it was like during slavery when abolitionists were harboring runaway slaves. You could be punished for that, even killed. Same type of thing. So I don't understand what this argument is about this judge, but I guess the point is, if it could happen to a judge for helping people, and they help who they want to help. They don't want to help Negroes, so I don't really have no dog in that fight, except for I know they're not going to help us. That's what we do know. And this is why we need to be coming together.
Right now, this is just an executive order. It has not gone into effect, and it will be fought. Did Trump?
Okay, so I wanted to share that with y'all and provide a little insight of why we need to be paying attention to these things. So you really need to be focusing on the courts. You need to be paying attention to these executive orders because this is how Trump is passing stuff. He's not using Congress. He's using executive orders, and Congress is not fighting him. So, it's really, you have to look out for yourself right now. We are on our own. We are all we got. So you got to read today. You got to pay attention to these executive orders. And every day he's signing executive orders, and there are hundreds of them nobody's talking about. So you need to sign up for, an announcement of all the executive orders that passed every day and look through them. You can type in certain keywords. It's going to be tedious, but if you don't have nothing else to do while you're scrolling on TikTok and watching YouTube, help read stuff. Send me a message and let me know, hey, I got something for you. You need to share this. This is important because I'm not catching everything either. But, I am trying to let y'all know some of the biggest things that will, impact us almost immediately, like the food shortages, like power outages, like multi-jurisdictional law enforcement. You don't know how this is going to play out because we're at the end of an age. This is the beginning of a new industrial revolution, and people, one thing I have learned about these snow people in power is that when it comes to doing the right thing, they do what's in their best interest. So if it means them having an escape route, their family getting money to buy coffee or whatever, just watch the beginning of the movie, watch Soylent Green. You're going to see how politicians do. They've been doing us dirty. They're going to keep doing us dirty. Even your local ones, they're working right now through public-private partnerships to turn your cities, your little small towns into 15-minute cities, get cameras up everywhere, get you internet so you'll be under surveillance, and you have to use your digital wallet, you have to use your digital ID, you have to use your smartphone, and eventually you will be chipped. And Sister Pamela of Only Pamela's Way sent me some stuff that I got to share with y'all about people in America being chipped. So a lot of stuff is happening. They're gonna want you to go inside for a reason, but don't be mistaken. A lot of stuff is happening, and we are going full steam ahead into this new global order. Nobody's fighting it. It's happening right in a twinkling of an eye. Things are going to change. So I just want y'all to be ready for it. Leave me your comments in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. I will put a copy of this executive order in the description so that you can read it for yourself. Share it with people on your social media platforms so that they will know what's coming. Knowledge is power. Wisdom and understanding is what is going to help us endure to the end. Not your rations, not your medicine, not your water straw. Knowledge and wisdom, because you're going to have to know how to move in this new environment that they're providing for us. Is we don't want it, we didn't vote for it, but it's here. So we have to. It's our responsibility to know what they're planning for us. And again, I just, in my opinion, I think this is a precursor to 84 Rex. Do it backwards, and they're working in a different order to achieve the goal, which is to come for us. So, again, leave me your feedback in the comment section. If you'd like to support the channel, check out my Venmo and my coffee links. And I'm out.